ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports television, presents Speed World.
She was the world's first super speedway, Darlington Raceway, Darlington, South Carolina, built for stock cars and built for speed. The Rebel 400 at Darlington helped move this sport into the big leagues. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the glory days of stock car racing. We're going back to the year 1968. Super speedway style competition had been around for nearly 20 years, but ABC was introducing this sport to a lot of Americans outside the South through a series of telecasts on Wide World of Sports. Bill Fleming drew the play-by-play assignment, and handsome retired superstar driver Freddie Lorenzen was a natural for expert analysts. Leroy Yarborough had already won TV races at Daytona and Atlanta. Leroy Yarborough, no relation, won the pole at Darlington and elected to start outside row one. There were no restrictor plates back in this era of wide-open stock car performance. In fact, Chrysler's potent Hemi-head engine, which would eventually be banned because it was too powerful, was allowed to run twin carburetors for the first time at this race. Goodyear offered this new super speedway tire for Darlington 23 years ago. Expert analyst Freddie Lorenzen was amazed at how wide and slick it was, though you might be forgiven for thinking it doesn't look a great deal different from one of today's street tires. Oh, and one more thing. Don't be misled by the notion that cool suits are new technology. Paul Goldsmith wore this one in 1968. Now let's join Bill and Freddie for the Rebel 400.
Leroy Yarborough is the fastest qualifier. He's on the pole today at 148.850. Here's Bobby Allison of Hueytown, Alabama, driving a new Ford Torino today, car number 29. The veteran Darrell Derringer in a 68 Plymouth Roadrunner. David Pearson driving a new Ford Torino with the smaller 396 engine, and Cale Yarborough in a new 68 Mercury Cyclone. And Richard Petty, last year's Rebel 400 winner. Right now, things are kind of quiet in pit row. This is the famous Wood Brothers crew, and it gives us a chance to talk to Dick Hunterson, crew chief of David Pearson. Well, Dick, as a former driver yourself, perhaps you are better qualified as a pit crew chief than anybody else, simply because you can interpret what that driver, in this case David Pearson, really wants in that car. He knows how the car is handling, and you can interpret it better than anybody else. Would you say that's right?
Well, Bill, David and I just run enough races now where I think that I can just about answer his questions before he asks it. And I know by being a driver before what he wants to know and what he needs to know according to win the race, you know. And the pit stops is real important. I mean, that can win or lose a race. You can make up 10 seconds in the pits a lot easier than you can make it up on the racetrack.
I would think, too, that tracks vary as far as pit stops are concerned. Now, here you have a narrow track at Darlington, which means maybe a lot of fender bumping, a lot of metal that's got to be pulled away from tires. So it's kind of a specialty here, isn't it?
That's right, Bill, and everything's worked out pretty good for us this year. We've had some real fast pit stops all the way from down to 18 seconds. And so far, David's been the only car here that hasn't hit the wall yet. And, of course, I know he will before the race is over, but I think we've got as good a chance of winning as anybody here.
One thing is for sure, with this color in the pit, David isn't likely to overrun it.
He will never miss us, will he?
And now as the cars get set to move out, let's set the field. Leroy Yarborough on the outside of row one. He's the fastest qualifier, has chosen that outside spot. On the inside is David Pearson in car number 17. Then moving back to two is Darrell Derringer and Bobby Allison. Then Donnie Allison and Buddy Baker in row 3. Donnie Lund and Kirk Turner in row 4. Cale Yarborough and Charlie Glotzback in row 5. Richard Petty and Bobby Isaac in row 6. James Hilton and John Sears in row 7. Row 8, Elmo Langley and Paul Goldsmith. Bud Moore and Bill Champion in row 9. And row 10, Jabe Thomas and E.J. Trivet. Now as they come around, getting into position for the start. And here they come. The green flag is out. Fred, it looks like it's going to be a race to the first turn.
It sure is, Bill, and we're going to see which was the wisest, Pearson or Leroy.
And it looks like Pearson. Pearson hangs on to the inside, and Leroy goes just a little bit high as they head to the backstretch. It's Pearson around that first turn, around number 2, and into the backstretch in the number 1 spot. So, Fred, I guess that seems to be the charm spot, at least today.
I guess so, and I think David's probably happy he chose it.
There you see how they have to go single file as they go into these turns. There isn't too much room to pass on this race course. As they come around for the first time out of the number 4 turn, coming close to the wall up there, and at the end of the first lap, officially, it's David Pearson in first place, Leroy Yarborough, then Bobby Allison, Darrell Derringer, Buddy Baker, Tiny Lund, Donnie Allison, that's Cale Yarborough back in about 8th spot, and he's followed by Richard Petty. And this must really be a thrill, Fred, to come down that chute and then come into just a little tiny one-lane curve.
Well, all your passing's really got to be done on that front stretch, Bill. It's about the only place in the racetrack.
Look at how close they're running. There's Bobby Allison on the inside, right next to Leroy Yarborough. Now, can he get him?
He should have really made his move in the front. It's awful hard in the back. I doubt it, Bill.
Yep, there goes Leroy. Just a little bit ahead as Bobby has to back off, going into single file into that turn. So it's David Pearson in car number 17, and there's a car blowing. That is car number 88, entered by Serge Adams, and I believe Neil Castle's in it, Fred.
Yes, he is. Bill, he had trouble with his own car and blew an engine the last day of practice, so he took over this car, which is also owned by Neil.
All right, that means one car out of the race right now, but still no caution flag, and that's fortunate with the blown engine. Here's a pretty good battle between Tiny Lund and Richard Petty. They like to go at each other a little bit, and a little smoke coming out of Tiny Lund's car. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And a spin up here. Car number 52, Letty Waldo from Cleveland, Ohio. Around he goes, still no caution flag. And that is very fortunate. At this stage of the race, 2 cars already out. David Pearson hanging on to the number 1 spot, followed by Leroy Yarborough and Bobby Allison. We'll be back with more of the Rebel 400 in just a moment. For the first 10 laps, 143.063 miles per hour, and believe me, here at the Darlington Raceway, that is really moving, Fred.
It sure is, Bill. It's almost as fast as the fastest qualifying lap was a year ago here, and I surely look for a new record at the end of 400 miles.
A lot of good personal duels going on. This is for 11th and 12th place between Goldsmith and Bud Moore. They've been dicing it back and forth, and there are about 8 cars up there within 50 yards of the leader. The leader, David Pearson, who has won 4 races this year so far, but has not won at Darlington in his entire career. Matter of fact, David has not won in a super speedway since 1961, so he's had a long drought. In second place is Leroy Yarborough, and Bobby Allison is running third. Buddy Baker, Donnie Allison, there's Tiny Lund. And a spin up here, it is Bobby Allison. Bobby Allison throwing metal off the car, spun around. The right front is wobbly. And Fred, I don't know what happened, but he definitely is in trouble.
Himself and Buddy Baker were running quite closely together through turn 2, and then I lost sight of him, and then I saw him spinning. His right front tire was flat, so we'll just find out when he pits.
And he's there right now with his pit crew swarming all over the car, and they're going to take the right rear off. And boy, that tire is hot, Fred. Look at that crewman down there, and they're bending out the metal. So apparently he was rubbing against the tire, but he's off and on his way, losing about a lap and a half in the process. So we have David Pearson, Leroy Yarborough, and Bobby giving up his place to Buddy Baker, and Donnie Allison is running in the number 4 spot, those 4 cars right together, and then Cale Yarborough is right behind them. Quite a race here in the opening stages at this sleepy little community in Darlington, South Carolina, and there is Leroy Yarborough and Buddy Baker both going by David Pearson. Whether he backed off intentionally, we don't know, but both Leroy and Buddy Baker went by him, and now Pearson has dropped back to 4th or 5th spot as both cars of Donnie Allison and Cale Yarborough go by him. Oh, wait a minute. Did you see that? Cale Yarborough hit the wall.
He sure did. He's been trying to move up high into that groove, so he just catapults down that straightaway. It gives him the momentum to run faster down the chute, and he just got a little bit too high.
Whew. An anxious moment for the Cale Yarborough fans. He's apparently all right. We're going to keep our eye on the car, but it seems to be right up there with the others as far as speed is concerned, with Leroy in first place, Buddy Baker, then Donnie Allison, and Cale Yarborough. The first 4 cars right now. David Pearson running back in the number 5 spot, and look at this.
I might add, Bill, Buddy Baker has really moved up here, and he's really putting the pressure on Leroy.
I thought he was going to get him there for just a moment. The official report on Bobby Allison is that he had contact with Buddy Baker and spun, but he's still in the race. And Buddy Baker putting the heat on Leroy Yarborough. So it promises to be a hectic afternoon here in Darlington, South Carolina. We'll be back with more of the Rebel 400 in just a moment.
Well, you may recall that in those early days, stock car races weren't televised flag to flag. Instead, edited segments were interspersed with wide world coverage of other sports. And so, in 1968, Buddy Baker and Leroy Yarborough shared Saturday afternoon airtime, with Irving the Deacon Crane and Luther Lassiter battling for the World Pocket Billiard Championship. No disrespect, but for my money, this is better. Here's Baker diving past Leroy as they wheel into turn one, perhaps benefiting from that twin carb power as he takes the lead. At the back of this pack, Cale Yarborough gets high, hits the wall coming out of turn four, and gets more than the proverbial Darlington stripe. Cale has heavy damage, including sheet metal rubbing the right front tire. He'll need a lot of attention from the famed Wood Brothers crew as he heads straight for the pits. And a little later, Cale's in trouble again. He spins going into turn one, trying to make up for last time. We rejoin Bill Fleming and Freddie Lorenzen with Charging Charlie Glotzback in the lead.
Look at him duel coming down this straightaway. Baker right up alongside of it. Boy, how close can you get, Fred?
They are running close. This Charlie Glotzback has really turned into a Charger, and he is running for the lead.
Well, he's driving a Charger today. There are two of them side by side. And Glotzback squeezing off Baker as they go into the turn. This has been the best racing of the day between any two particular cars, but we've had some great duels all afternoon. Look at how close they are. Baker tries to go to the inside down the home straightaway. Now, can he get through? That's the question. And Glotzback is jammed right into the wall, and Baker has taken the lead. Oh, and I bet you Charlie Glotzback is hot about that.
I think he is a little perturbed about that, Bill.
Look at that. He comes right up on the tail of Buddy Baker. Moving right up and actually bumping him. And that's the kind of racing that makes this the great sport it is. Fans here at the Darlington Raceway really eating up this duel between Buddy Baker and Charlie Glotzback. Buddy slammed Charlie into the retaining wall, and then Charlie was so angered by it, he came right up and actually bumped the rear bumper of Buddy Baker, and that's the way they've been going at it ever since. These two cars running 1 and 2 right now, and here's the third place car, David Pearson, just hanging back, watching the two Chargers evidently trying to destroy each other. Richard Petty running in the number 4 spot. Pole sitter Leroy Yarborough is back 3 laps, and Bobby Allison way back about 8 laps from the lead. And now David Pearson starts to put on the heat to go by Glotzback. And immediately there's a sign down in the pit for Pearson, think. Freddie, I think you've seen that as a driver before.
Yes, that's a sign Ralph Moody first gave me in 1961 when I was running with 2 laps to go against Curtis Turner. He gave me that same board, and it's been with the Holman Moody team ever since.
Apparently they don't want him to put too much heat on Baker, but there he goes by Baker. David Pearson goes by Baker, and his pit crew says, wow, what are you doing? And so the leader right now is David Pearson, and here comes Charlie Glotzback limping into the pits. It looks like he's all through for the afternoon, but he did some good jousting in there with Buddy Baker. So the leader right now is David Pearson. And we'll try to get a word with Charlie Glotzback, who put on such a great show with Buddy Baker.
Charlie, it was a great race while it lasted. What happened?
Well, the engine started overheating, so rather than blow it up, I just parked it.
What happened here along the side?
Well, me and Baker kind of got tangled up going in number 1 corner and raked the wall a little bit.
So the way they stand right now, it's Pearson, Baker, and Petty in that order. And the new record at the halfway mark of the race, 137.647. We'll be back with what promises to be an exciting finish in just a moment. And they're back racing, and the word from Johnny Bruner, the chief steward, is that David Pearson was held at the edge of the pit exit until Richard Petty had gone by. That was because Pearson did not complete a full stop when he came in on that first pit stop, so it could be a little bit costly to him, Fred Lorenzen.
It sure could, but he's just jumped back by Petty, and that should put him into the lead.
It does put him in the lead. They were on the same lap. As you'll recall, before that incident, Petty was 1 lap behind. But now, Pearson has moved back into the lead just a few feet ahead of Richard Petty. So it looks like we're going to have quite a wind-up to the race because the next car, Darrell Derringer, is 1 full lap behind the 2 leaders. So Pearson and Petty are coming down right in front of us now, and that's Buddy Baker. Buddy is 3 laps back, although he likes to get up there and duel with the leader. Pearson driving a new Ford Torino that sports a 396 cubic inch engine and is about 200 pounds lighter than any of the other cars. Here's Darrell Derringer, who's currently running in 3rd place. As I mentioned, he is 1 full lap behind. And it looks like it's all for Cale Yarborough. Look at that car. And apparently the engine blew because the caution light is out and the safety car is on the track. So the blown engine of Cale Yarborough puts him out for the afternoon, but it was a valiant effort by this young man from Emmonsville, South Carolina. Here comes Richard Petty in during the caution flag. Fred, is that any real problem? They've got those 10-gallon tanks just sloshing gasoline all over the place.
No, they just want to make sure it's really full because this could possibly be the last stop.
Right, and Richard Petty goes out, and it looks like Pearson, they've got the hood up, and they're putting oil in it. I don't know whether that's significant or not, Fred, but they put oil in the car.
It's just a precaution, Bill. Keep it over full, and all it'll do is blow it out if it's too full.
I'll tell you one thing, it cost him some extra seconds in there because Petty is back out there ahead of him. And here's a look at some of the tire wear of this afternoon, Fred. Boy. Whew. Good thing for those interliners, right?
Without question, Bill, the biggest single safety factor in racing.
Now, the 2 leaders, Richard Petty and David Pearson, and that's Buddy Baker up there right with him. But as mentioned, he is 3 laps behind, or he is now only 2 laps behind. He has unlapped himself for 1 lap. Look how close Richard Petty comes to that wall. Well, he's one of the most skillful drivers in the country today, and he won this race a year ago. Before the race got underway today, we had an opportunity to talk to Richard. He started back in the 6th row in the number 11 position, and this is what he had to say prior to the race.
Richard, you're back here in the 6th row at the start of this race today, and at Darlington, maybe that's not such a good spot to be because it's kind of tough to pass.
Well, it's pretty tough to pass here, but if we can get the car running pretty good and it handles good enough, then it's not too bad. But really starting back this far, even when you got a real fast car, it takes a pretty good while to pass anybody here because we just got 1 groove, and it makes it pretty close.
You only have 1 groove, but today at least you have 2 carburetors.
Yeah, we got 2 carburetors, but I don't believe they're helping a whole lot right now, and I think they're helping everybody but us, but maybe we'll get them worked out, and they'll be all right.
Best of luck to you, Richard.
Thank you.
Well, the carburetors may not have been right before the race, but they certainly seem to be right now. Petty in the lead, but here comes Pearson right behind him. David pulls alongside. And it looks like Pearson, he does get him. David Pearson going into the lead. So with 50 laps to go, it promises to be quite a finish. We'll be back with it in just a moment. Over the Darlington Raceway, and the yellow caution flag is out. It's just a light sprinkle of rain right now, but the cars are now coming into the pits. And Fred, I don't know how much of a problem that light sprinkle would be.
Quite a bit, Bill. These tires are such a hard compound that on a passenger car, you could never drive in the street with them. Just like a passenger car tire could probably ride around this track right now. So when it even starts to sprinkle a little bit, the race is absolutely brought under caution.
So at this point, under the caution, you saw Richard Petty come on in. David Pearson is in the lead right now, and Darrell Derringer is currently running in 3rd place. But here's Petty in again. He's pointing to the right front, so apparently he's having some handling problems with the car. They're gonna put another right foot on there, Fred. They just changed moments ago.
Yes, he's got a problem somewhere in the tires, he guesses. It must be something or shaking or doing something wrong.
And we also noticed that he has lost his rear window completely. That's one of the mishaps of the afternoon. So Richard Petty has had to make a costly second pit stop here, and that moves Darrell Derringer into second place behind David Pearson. And apparently the rain shower is over because the green flag is now out. And they'll be back racing again, and this seems to be the tire in question. It just wasn't performing properly, and it cost Richard Petty another pit stop. And there's a pit sign for Pearson taking it easy. So apparently, Fred, they don't want to take any chances at this point.
They sure don't, Phil. With just 2 laps to go, they've slowed him down because he's way out front.
Oh, Derringer brushed the retaining wall. Darrell Derringer, running in second place, just did touch the retaining wall. Wow, a close call, but he has it under control. And look how close Petty comes to it.
Yes, the groove has moved way up. It does during the day, Bill. It starts down low, and as the day goes on, it just moves up high because the track keeps getting slick. And by the end of the day, it's right up against the fence.
Well, that's where it is right now. And there's somebody else up against the fence, and it's Dr. Don Tarr, a surgeon from Miami, who races for the fun of it. And now the white flag has been given to David Pearson. When he comes around this time, it'll be the checkered flag for him. So here he comes with less than half a lap to go, coming down the home straightaway. And the checkered flag for David Pearson. First big win for him on the super speedways in 7 years, and the 5th win this year. And a mighty welcome victory it is, too, because it brings him $13,900 for the first place finish. And it proves one thing with that small engine here this afternoon, and that lighter weight, it really paid off. Now all the other cars being given the checkered flag, and here comes David.
Well, here he is, David Pearson. What a great job, Dave. Can you hear me?
About again.
You got that lead right on the first lap today. It turned out to be prophetic.
Yeah, well, we were running pretty close together the first lap, and I said I could go ahead and get it. So I thought I'd go ahead and get in front then.
David, did you have any qualms at the end of the race? We thought you were smoking a little bit.
No, they just told me to slow up because I was a couple laps ahead, so I just went ahead.
Well, you can hear that crowd in the background. It's really roaring for you.
Thank you.
That's the 5th win this year for David Pearson. What a race, huh, Fred?
Oh, it sure was, Bill. I think the big thing here today was the lighter weight cars. The Chrysler ran the 404 engines, Ford. The only 396 was David, and I think the lightweight cars showed. The heavier cars all had tire problems, so I think coming back for the 500, everybody will be running the light cars.
Yeah, for this particular track.
I think so, due to the short straightaways and the big turns.
Well, it was an exciting afternoon, Fred, and thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Well, that's just about the story here from the Darlington Raceway, but let's take a look now at the official order of finish.
In first place, David Pearson in a 68 Ford Torino at an average speed of 132.699 miles per hour, a new track record. Darrell Derringer in a 68 Plymouth was second. Richard Petty in a 68 Plymouth was third. Buddy Baker in a 68 Dodge Charger was fourth. Leroy Yarborough, the pole sitter, in a 68 Ford was fifth. James Hilton in a 67 Dodge was sixth. And the current NASCAR point leader, Bobby Isaac, was in 7th place.
Well, Richard Petty and David Pearson went on to battle over the title King of the Super Speedways for many, many seasons to come. And television coverage of stock car racing continued to expand until today. Every single Winston Cup race is on the tube. Most of them are covered live and flag to flag. I hope you've enjoyed this visit to the glory days of stock car racing. I'm Dave Despain. I'll see you again next time.